Welcome back, my family. Before we begin tonight's stories, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment down below. Tell me, where are you watching from, and what time is it right now? I never thought I'd be the type of person who got nervous about a high school reunion. But when the email arrived, Westfield High, class of 2010, I felt my stomach drop like a stone in icy water. 10 years, a decade since I'd walked those halls, carrying every whisper, every cruel joke, every humiliating moment like a backpack filled with bricks. I RSVP'd, not because I missed anyone, not because I wanted to reconnect. I RSVP'd because I wanted them to see me, to see that the girl they tore apart was gone. I was going to walk in, and they would have to stare at the version of me I had fought years to become. Back then, at 17, I weighed nearly 320 pounds. Every step down the hall felt like a spotlight. Every snicker behind my back was a sharpened blade. Boys called me names: moose, land whales, giant, and teachers. Well, they mostly looked away, but nothing burned more than the day Tara Brighton, the blonde cheerleader with a voice that carried across the cafeteria, stood on a bench and screamed, "Land whale!" The room erupted. Laughter ricocheted off the walls, and for hours I cried alone in the bathroom until my cheeks were raw. I swore that day I'd change. And I did. Not overnight, not without struggle. But after years of battling weight, trying every diet, every fad, every workout plan, I discovered something that actually worked: semaglutide. Reddit called it the cheat code. TikTok called it a miracle. I was terrified of needles, but desperation won. By June, I had shed 85 pounds. My cheekbones were sharp. My collarbones protruded. My body finally reflected the person inside. Months of preparation followed. I bought Spanx, hair extensions, press-on nails, and outfits that made me feel like a completely new person. My apartment looked like a beauty magazine spread. Mirrors everywhere, lights that flattered my face, every detail curated to perfection. I wasn't just losing weight. I was rewriting my story scene by painstaking scene. The night of the reunion, I parked in the lot staring at the glowing windows of the gym. My palms sweated against the steering wheel. "Get it together, Laya," I muttered. "You didn't go through this for nothing." I touched up my lipstick in the rearview mirror, took a deep breath, and stepped out. My heels clicked on the asphalt, a loud, confident announcement to anyone who might still remember the old me. When I pushed open the gym doors, I felt it immediately. Eyes turned. Mouths dropped. Tara Brighton froze. Her jaw slackened. "Lila?" she whispered, clutching her necklace. "Still on Earth?" I smiled slow and sweet, savoring every second of her shock. "Oh no, honey. I fly now," I said. The fake laugh she forced out was everything I had imagined. People who had ignored me in high school now wanted pictures, hugs, my Instagram. And then I saw him. Ryan Blake, football captain, my high school crush, the guy I had written 10 pages about in my diary. He handed me a drink. His eyes raked me up and down. "You're a whole different person," he said. "I burned the old version," I replied. We slipped into conversation easily, comfortably, almost like we had never been apart. His laugh, still warm and familiar, echoed through the space as we caught up. I realized how much I had missed normal interactions, how much of my life had been spent hiding, shrinking, waiting for someone to notice. By the end of the night, we were at his downtown loft. Minimalist furniture, abstract art, fancy coffee machine. We laughed, we kissed, until my stomach betrayed me. Suddenly, pain and nausea. I barely had time to shove him off before collapsing to the floor, retching violently. The last thing I saw was his horrified face, reaching for his phone, calling 911. I woke up in the ER, IV in arm, body trembling. Dehydration, malnutrition, side effects of the injections. And then I heard him. Ryan, pale, hooked up to fluids beside me. He had been using the same drug, abusing it, chasing perfection like me. We tried to quit. We really did. But the weight crept back fast and we found ourselves desperate. That's when we discovered the Shining Circle, a secret online group trading microdoses, black market prescriptions. At first it worked. No nausea, no dehydration. We looked perfect. My Instagram blew up. My DMs filled with messages praising my transformation. It felt like being worshipped, but the more I achieved, the heavier the paranoia grew. The horrors followed soon after. People on the forum began dying suddenly. Heart failure, mysterious reactions, bodies breaking down from unknown substances. Ryan started seeing things, hearing voices. One day he collapsed during a treadmill session. That's when I learned the truth. He had been doubling his doses, secretly selling access, living dangerously under the username Ghost Newton. The last time I saw him, we fought. I begged him to stop. He screamed he would rather die than return to being ordinary. Then he vanished. Bloodstained towel, empty crypto wallet. I spiraled. I gorged on ice cream, fried chicken, anything to fill the emptiness. Nearly a year later, I saw him again, waddling through a buffet line. Enormous sweat-soaked linen shirt, tray piled with chocolate donuts. He had faked his disappearance. One girl had literally melted from overuse, skin necrosis, body breaking down. He shrugged, smiled, full of lies and indulgence. We sat in silence, eating. The sun burned my skin. I looked at my bloated body. For the first time in years I laughed, not because it was funny, but because perhaps this was the only truth left. Months passed and I stopped checking my notifications, stopped looking at the forum, stopped chasing perfection. But the memory of the reunion, the obsession, and Ryan's descent haunted me. I realized something essential. Friendship, obsession, perfection, they can all hide darkness. And sometimes the darkness is within people you trust the most. I thought I knew Lena Carter. I met her when I was 12. Funny, bold, reckless, the kind of girl everyone wanted at their lunch table. I was quiet, reserved, but somehow we clicked. By high school, we were inseparable. She called me her sister, and I believed her. By my early 20s, my health changed. A condition left me partially disabled. I used a wheelchair most of the time, but at home I adapted, crawling, sliding, anything to maintain independence. Lena seemed supportive, always saying, "Girl, you and me against the world. Don't matter what happens, I've got you." I trusted her. Foolishly. One evening, Lena called. She and her boyfriend needed a place to stay. Without thinking, I said yes. My apartment was small but cozy. A single request, no big dogs. I loved animals, but if a dog knocked me over while I was crawling or climbing stairs, it could be disastrous. She waved it off. "Relax, no dogs, I promise." 3 weeks later, a pit bull arrived. Not trained, not calm, pure chaos wrapped in fur. Every time I left my wheelchair, it knocked me over, jumped on me, licked me excessively. Lena's idea of discipline? Shouting from across the room while sipping coffee. Like it was a casual TV show she had no responsibility in. Then came the morning that changed everything. I was late for a doctor appointment, crawling toward the backyard where I kept my wheelchair. The smell hit me first, foul, unmistakable. My stomach dropped. My chair, soaked, urine everywhere. The cushion saturated, the wheels dripping, my independence ruined in seconds. I froze. "Lena!" I shouted. She appeared on the deck, hair messy, coffee in hand. "Oops, sorry. Didn't notice I cleaned the chair, crawling through the grass, soaked in urine. Humiliation burned hotter than any fever. That was just the start. Trash began to pile up. Bags ripped open, liquids and scraps running down the hall. The smell clung to my clothes, my skin, my mind. I wrote a note on the fridge, letters so big it could be read from the street. "Clean up the damn trash in the hallway." The next morning, Lena exploded. "What is this?" "It's the truth," I snapped. "Do you know how it feels to crawl through garbage because you're too lazy?" She didn't care. To her, the problem wasn't the mess, it was me calling her out. Then came the bathroom. Her long black hair clogged every drain. Every shower became a nightmare. I spent 30-40 minutes peeling hair from the walls and tub, gagging, frustrated, defeated. Her boyfriend lost his job. Bills stopped being paid, electricity, internet, gas, I covered it all. Documenting every receipt just to remember I wasn't going crazy. Tension in that house could have snapped steel. And then Lena's mother arrived. "Just staying a little while," she said, smiling too wide. 4 months later, she was still there. No rent, no help, acting like she owned the place. I decided to move out. "I'll be taking my bed," I told Lena. Her face twisted. "Where will my mom sleep then?" "You're seriously going to do that to her?" Bitter laugh. "It's my bed, my house. Your mom doesn't pay a dime. She's lucky I didn't kick her out months ago," her mother snapped, lunging, striking me across the face. Pain exploded. I tried crawling, but she straddled me, slapping and punching. Blood spattered across the hardwood. "Stop," Lena shouted. But her warning was half-hearted. "You'll go to jail for hitting a disabled person," she added. Her concern was strangely legalistic, not maternal. I seized a moment, crawled to my room, locked the door, and called 911. The police arrived, hauling Lena's mother away, still screaming. At the ER, swollen face, bruised arms, I saw Lena and her boyfriend, pleading, begging. "Don't press charges," she said. Foolishly, I agreed. Regret clawed at me every single day. I moved out, loading my wheelchair, clothes, and dignity into my car. Silence. I never saw them again. No repayment, no apology. Just a lingering memory of betrayal and humiliation. A month later, Lena sent one last text. "You didn't have to make such a big deal." I typed back, "Rot in hell. Don't ever contact me again." Blocked. Never heard from her again. But the nightmare didn't end there. Weeks later, odd things started happening at my new apartment. Items moved. Doors slightly open. At first I thought it was my imagination. Then small notes appeared, typed, precise, tucked under my door. Still mine. It escalated. Mail went missing. Packages tampered with. I locked every drawer, window, door. Even when I slept, one eye stayed open. One night a loud crash woke me. Shadows in the kitchen. I grabbed a baseball bat, heart racing. Lena's pit bull? No. Her boyfriend sneaking around holding a crowbar. I ran, crawling into the hallway, screaming for neighbors. He froze, then bolted. Police came. Arrested him. His excuse? Wanted to scare you back into submission. Lena. Vanished from social media, a ghost. Months later, an envelope with no return address arrived. Inside, a black and white photo of me, taken from outside my apartment window. A note: "You can run, but you can't hide." I changed locks, installed security cameras, moved again. Each knock, each phone ring, my chest tightened. The friend I trusted more than anyone had become my worst nightmare. And then the pit bull. It appeared at my new apartment's parking lot, tail wagging, teeth bared. Lena's boyfriend somewhere behind it. I snapped photos, called animal control. Nothing. Every day I feared a break-in. Every shadow a threat. One night I woke to scratching on the windows. Someone or something was outside. I couldn't breathe. I crawled to the door, peeking through a crack. Nothing. Just the empty street. But I knew better. The stalking continued for months. Packages left on my doorstep, half-eaten food, torn clothing. Notes: "Remember me. I'm always watching." I moved again. New city, new locks, better security. Still, every knock, every unfamiliar face sent me into panic. Every phone notification made my stomach turn. Sleep was shallow, punctuated by nightmares. It took nearly a year for the terror to ease. Therapy helped. Police investigations stalled. But some nights I still wake up, heart racing, expecting her or him, or that dog, to appear in my doorway. Friendship, once a comfort, became a weapon. Some people wear masks so well you never see the monster underneath until it's too late. Lena taught me that lesson painfully, vividly, and permanently. I never expected it to happen, not in a million years. High school was over, 10 years gone, and I had buried most of the memories with it. Sure, there were flashes, the auditorium, the lockers, the cruel jokes, but life moved on. Or so I thought. It was a Thursday night, a week after my birthday. I was home alone, apartment dimly lit. Rain drumming softly against the window. Netflix hummed in the background, though I wasn't really watching. I was scrolling through my phone when I heard it. A soft, deliberate knock at the door. "Who the hell?" I muttered, checking the clock. 10:17 p.m. Too late for deliveries, too early for mischief. Heart thumping, I approached, peeking through the peephole. There she was, Marissa Tate, my best friend in high school. The girl who had once whispered every secret, laughed at every joke, shared every locker combo. Only now she looked different. Older, sure, but also wrong. Her smile was too wide, almost desperate, eyes glinting unnaturally under the porch light. "Marissa?" I called, trying to keep my voice steady. She waved. "Hey, I just wanted to drop by. Thought we could catch up." Something in her tone froze me. It wasn't the cheerful, bubbly voice I remembered. There was an edge, a tension, a thrill lurking beneath it. I hesitated. "It's late. Can we maybe talk tomorrow?" But she didn't leave. Instead, she stepped forward, pressing her face close to the glass, grinning. "No, tonight's perfect. Let's talk tonight." I shook my head and locked the door. My hands trembled. It had been 10 years. We had drifted apart. I hadn't thought about her in years. Why now? The next knock came faster, louder, angry. Come on! I'm not leaving until we talk. I grabbed my phone, fingers shaking. 911? My neighbors? My mind spun. And then the knock stopped. Silence, except for the rain. I tried to tell myself I was imagining it. Maybe it wasn't her. Maybe it was someone else. But deep down I knew. It was her. The following day I avoided the topic. Work, errands, anything to distract myself. But that night the knocks came again. Always at the same time. Always deliberate. Always her. I started noticing odd things. A key left in my mailbox when I didn't have any friends with copies. Footsteps on the fire escape. My windows slightly open even though I remembered closing them. I called her. Her voicemail picked up. Hey, it's Marissa. Leave a message. The cheerfulness was chilling. I hung up. Days turned into a week. Every night the knocking. My nerves frayed. Sleep became a battlefield. Every shadow, every creak of my apartment floor felt like her waiting. One evening I decided to confront it. I opened the door slightly, chain still on. Marissa, stop, this isn't funny. No answer, just the rain. Then I saw her reflection in the glass standing behind me. But when I turned, she wasn't there. Panic surged. I ran inside, locked every door, shoved furniture against the windows. My phone rang, her name flashing. I ignored it. Then a message appeared. Why are you hiding? We were best friends. Don't you miss me? The words twisted my stomach. They weren't just nostalgic. They were a threat. I blocked her number, changed my locks, even stayed with a friend for a few nights. But she found me. Always. A glimpse at a coffee shop. A shadow in the parking lot. A note slipped under a hotel door. You can't escape what we had. I started researching her online. Nothing. Social media inactive. No phone, no address. It was as if she vanished for years only to reappear in my life like a ghost. One night, exhausted, I dozed off on the couch. Around 2 a.m., I woke to a whisper. My apartment was dark, but there she was, sitting at the foot of the couch, knees tucked, grinning. Hi, she said softly. I screamed, running to the bedroom, locking the door. I called the police, but when they arrived, there was no sign of her. No forced entry, nothing. I didn't sleep that night. I barely slept for weeks. Every knock, every shadow, every phone buzz sent my heart racing. Then I found the diary. I had forgotten it in a box in the closet. Flipping through, I saw entries from high school, all about Marissa, how I had been my own person, how she had envied me, how she had loved the attention I got from others. Her final entry was scratched out violently. I can't let her go. She's mine, always mine, it clicked. She wasn't just a friend. She had never been a friend. She had been waiting, watching, planning. The next encounter was worse. I returned home from work to find my door unlocked. Inside, the apartment was rearranged. Pictures from my wall torn, notes written in my handwriting but twisted, mocking. A message scrawled across the mirror in red marker. I'm closer than you think. I moved immediately. Out of the city. Changed my number, my job, my routines. Thought I could escape. Months passed. Silence. I began to breathe again, cautiously. Then came the birthday, a week before my 28th. My phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Happy birthday, she said. Her voice, the old cheerful tone, but every word like a blade slicing through the air. Remember when we promised we'd always be best friends? I hung up. Shaking. Panic, fear, nausea. I never went home alone again. My friends, my family, they didn't understand. It's just Marissa, I'd say. She's harmless. But deep down I knew better. Years later, I still live with locks, cameras, alarms, and vigilance. Every new apartment, I check windows twice, doors thrice. Every shadow is suspect. Every knock at the door triggers adrenaline. Sometimes, I wonder if she's still out there waiting, watching, because friendship, my first. My true friend had turned into fear, and that's the scariest truth of all. I always thought apartment living was temporary. I'd never experienced anything truly horrifying, or so I believed, until I moved into 4B. It was a small, slightly run-down building in the older part of the city. Cheap rent, okay location, no complaints. Until the noises started. At first it was subtle. Footsteps above me. Slow, deliberate, at odd hours. Midnight. 2 a.m., 4:30 a.m. I tried to convince myself it was normal. People have different schedules. Maybe it was a night owl. Maybe the floor creaked. But then the sounds changed. Dragging furniture, heavy thumps, screeches like nails on a chalkboard. Sometimes I thought I heard a muffled scream. I knocked on the ceiling one night. "Hey, could you keep it down?" Silence, then came the music, a low, pulsating rhythm that rattled the walls. But it wasn't regular music, it was chanting. Soft at first, unintelligible, then growing louder. I could hear it even through my headphones. I started noticing other things too. Small items moved around in my apartment. Keys missing for hours, returned in odd places. My cat, normally calm, would hiss at the ceiling, fur puffed. I mentioned it to the building manager. "Probably just kids," he said. "Or old pipes." But I could see the doubt in his eyes. He didn't live here. He didn't hear it at 3 a.m. like I did. One night the pounding started again, louder than ever. I grabbed a broom, trembling, and banged back on the ceiling. "Stop it!" a voice whispered. I froze. Clear, deliberate, coming from above. "Stop what?" I dropped the broom. My heart raced. It couldn't be real. I live alone, or so I thought. The next morning I called the police. Explained everything, the footsteps, the noises, the chanting. They visited, checked the apartment above. 4C. Empty. Vacant for months. That's when the dread hit. I live alone. My neighbor is supposed to be empty. Yet the noises, the voice, the movement. Days turned into weeks. Sleep became impossible. I started leaving lights on even during the day. I checked every corner of my apartment, every lock, every window. Nothing unusual, and then the scratching started. Not above this time, inside the walls. Behind the closet, behind the fridge. Sometimes it sounded like nails scraping the plaster. Sometimes soft breathing. I bought a camera. Left it running while I slept. Nothing. Or so the footage claimed. One evening, I returned home from work to find my door ajar. My keys were in my hand. I never left it unlocked. Inside, everything seemed normal, until I noticed my ceiling tiles. One slightly ajar. I climbed onto a chair, pushed it aside, and froze. Fingerprints, small, smeared in blood. Not mine, not humanly clean. I called the police again. This time they found nothing. The tiles were clean when they investigated. Probably old damage, they said. But I knew better. The real horror started one rainy Tuesday. I was cooking dinner when I heard laughter from the ceiling. Soft, mocking, then a voice, finally, "You're alone." I dropped the spatula, adrenaline surging. I ran to the door, but it wouldn't budge. Locks, deadbolts, all secure. But the laughter continued. Closer, underneath, above, everywhere. I grabbed my phone, planning to call 911 when I noticed a shadow. Not on the floor. On the ceiling, a shape, moving, dark, elongated, crawling along the beams like a spider. I screamed. Something knocked me down. The lights went out. The power cut, and I was plunged into darkness. My phone died instantly, despite full charge. Then, silence. I called a friend in tears. She insisted I leave. Grabbed what I could, keys, wallet, purse, and fled. Raining, soaked, I ran to the lobby. The building was empty. Doors locked behind me. I stayed in a motel that night. And that's when I noticed the message. On my phone screen, text from an unknown number. "Don't leave. I like it when you stay." I never responded. I changed numbers. Changed apartments. Moved to another city. New building, new life, but the nightmares followed. Footsteps above my bed at 2 a.m. Scratches on the walls. Shadows in the corners. A year later, I received a letter. No return address. Inside, a photo of my old apartment. Taken from the street. And scrawled in red across the back, "I never left." I checked. Every window. Every exit, nothing but the fear. The knowing that someone, something had lived above me, waiting, never leaving. That never went away. I never got another place without checking ceilings, tiles, hidden spaces. My friends think I'm paranoid. Maybe I am. But sometimes when it rains or when the wind rattles the eaves, I hear it. Laughter, scratching, the soft whisper. Finally, "You're alone." And I know it's true. I will never be alone again.